Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to my podcast, Don't Get a Therapist Yet. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Debra Kissen. She's a clinical psychologist, but also the founder of Light on Anxiety Treatment Centres and also an author of several books. A very warm welcome to you, Debra.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and what a great name for a podcast. Don't get a therapist yet. I think it's great because sometimes it's very helpful to have help from the outside, and sometimes we have the tools already, and so it's good to have both options. So I
Yeah,
really like the name. It's great.
yes, yeah. Thank you very much, Debra.
Yeah.
So, can you please tell the audience a little bit more about yourself? Because you've done so much in your career. Just tell us a
Mm.
little bit more about yourself, Deborah.
So in terms, I am CEO and founder of Light on Anxiety Treatment Centers, which I think I opened around 13 years ago. We started with it was just me, and then the first clinician I brought on, and now we have over 10 locations, and we offer therapy, medication, and testing services, and over 100 clinicians, and really trying to make mental health care accessible and user friendly and practical, and trying to remove as many obstacles as possible so people can get the support they deserve and use it to live their best lives.
That's amazing. My goodness me, what a mission you're on, Deborah. What a
Yeah,
mission. Yeah.
still
And
having
it,
fun, so that's good.
and in your spare time, you're an author of several books. Can you tell us a little bit more about the books you've written?
So with each of the books I've written with some of the co-authors from Light on Anxiety Treatment Center. So we have a book on the treatment of panic disorder. We have a book on rewiring your anxious teen brain to experience less stress and anxiety. We have a book for parents, overcoming parental anxiety. A book more specific to intrusive thoughts and how to,
Mm.
and OCD and how to get unstuck from them. And then our most recent book on how to play your way past anxiety. So more of a book for children and parents or children and school counselors. So very fun, creative ways to obtain freedom from anxiety.
And that's so amazing because I think sometimes it's really hard for people to know where to start when they, especially a parent, when they've got an anxious
Mhm.
child, and the market's flooded with books, but you don't always know, from you, you're such an experienced uh, practitioner and therapist, aren't you? It's good to say, if I buy a book, I'll buy a book from you because I know it's grounded in
Yeah.
experience, evidence, and I'm sure it's very step by step and will be a great resource for people.
We try to take what is working best, what are the active ingredients, and trying to get them in the hands of users, consumers to, to do, there's no shame in getting working with a therapist and working with a provider. And also sometimes there's some of these skills and tools that we can do on our own as well. So
Or it can be a reinforcer as well. You can do both, can't you? You
Mhm.
can have the therapy, but still use the books to guide you through, whether you're a parent or a child or an adolescent. It's very useful. Yes. Yeah, very
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
So Deborah, today we've agreed to focus more on parents of children and young people with anxiety because we thought that's probably the most useful thing. I know you work in all different areas. And so we've come up with some questions which I think are probably quite common to how parents feel when their child is anxious and what do they
Yeah.
do. So my first question to you is a parent's wondering if the teenager is actually anxious, or in their head, they're wondering whether they're just being lazy or moody or avoiding responsibility. How can you tell the difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. And often with children and with teens, sometimes with adults, we don't always have the words for what we're feeling. And instead, we may just be shut down or irritable or kind of mean. And versus, I'm really scared. What if I don't ever learn how to read? Or what if I don't, math seems really scary, or I don't feel comfortable at school with when it's lunchtime and where I'm going to sit. So being able to make contact and notice, okay, this is the experience of fear or anxiety, and this is the topic that I'm struggling with, is a pretty advanced for all humans. And so you don't, as a parent, you just see some cluster behaviors that just someone seems like they're struggling. Um and as a parent, you're naturally going to be so fused with the experience of your child. And by definition, parents' brains are supposed to care so much for the experience of their child in order to keep them safe. And so the mirror neurons, like they're scared, I'm scared. And so
Mm,
we really lose a lot of our objective thinking when it comes to our children suffering. And so I would say in those moments, um getting like a second opinion, talking to teachers, you want to be able to take a step back, not in the moment of they just don't seem okay, they're falling apart. You're not going to be thinking clearly either. So you're going to want to put on like your thinking cap, be your scientist, maybe like take a week's worth of data. Like these are the behaviors that I've noticed. These are the times of day. These are some of the things they're thinking. This is their level of functioning, that they've maybe like decreased, maybe more frequently late at school. So trying to have a little bit more data that you could then go to your pediatrician, or you could have a consult with a therapist, or speak with, a trusted friend or family member, just to
mm,
take that first step of uh, trying to assess what is unfolding.
mm.
Because in the moment, it's hard to think clearly when our kids are upset about anything, really.
And that's a great advice for a parent, just to sort of that just stepping back process, isn't it?
Right.
And just sort of, in fact, not getting so emotionally involved and confused about the process. That's a really good tips there. Thank you for that, Deborah.
Or maybe like you will definitely be emotionally involved because by definition and for survival, we're supposed to be, but trying to hold it all kind of lightly. Like
Mm,
your immediate emotions are valid for what is unfolding that moment. It's just not necessarily the
mm,
whole truth.
mm,
And it just takes a couple more moments and a bit of a shift in perspective to get a wider lens on what is unfolding.
mm. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. And I think a lot of parents worry about um, is this sort of anxiety or stress that their child is going through? Is it normal, or could it be something more serious? I mean, how would they find that out, do you think?
Yeah, another great question in terms of what is normal stress and what is an official anxiety disorder. So you're starting to be human is to be stressed sometimes, uncomfortable frequently, scared sometimes, and that is built into the experience. But in terms of frequency, when it's happening more hours of the day. It's been going on for not just like 2 days right before an exam, but it's been a month of just being on edge. You're looking at impairment in functioning. So maybe like your kids like, I'm so stressed, but then they're going to school and they're getting good grades and they're hanging out with their friends and they're going to parties and they're playing their sports versus getting a lot of stomach aches and missing school, starting to retreat from functioning, not socializing the way they used to. So you're kind of looking across a few different indicators of wellness to note if it's kind of taking on more steam, and you don't have to figure it out yourself. Like going to speak with, just reviewing it with a pediatrician can be a really good,
Mm,
a doctor, a good starting point.
mm,
And also, even if it's just normal stress, giving your child tools in the toolbox, if they're willing to kind of like you might meet with a trainer, someone who's good at um, soccer, football, um, and but they still might work with a trainer to get additional assistance. So it's the same thing with learning to
mm.
manage our stress, and we don't get a user manual for our brain and how to use it. So getting some assistance, even if it's not a full-blown anxiety disorder, can be very helpful for
Mm.
everyone, I think.
Mm. And that's a really good point, Deborah, isn't it? Because I suppose if they're suffering from a little bit of stress now and you get the interventions then hopefully it will
Mhm.
go away and they have those tools, so it won't get any worse as well. So that's a really good point. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
it's something that preventative, we have like a well visit at the doctor's office to get ahead of, I mean, we could all be, I think healthcare systems could be better about prevention and wellness oriented care
Mm,
delivery, but still building in a well visit. And that's something that really could be very helpful for mental health, which doesn't happen, but we often wait until it's so bad because it feels like it's not worthy of officially getting help, and other people have it harder, but we we don't we shouldn't need to wait for it to be
yeah.
really uncomfortable to get help. We don't do it in other aspects of life. So
Yeah. 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 Yes. It's a big decision, isn't it, to know when to get help and when not
yeah,
to. It can be quite hard. It's got to be quite a
yeah, and
dilemma there.
the apple
Parents.
just go for it, because
Mm,
the worst thing that you have to lose is that you're doing pretty okay, and now you have a couple of more ways to see situations and tools in your toolbox. Like that's
mm, mm. It's
not
not
a bad
bad. Not a bad
yeah.
thing at all. And I think another common problem is that sometimes teenagers refuse to go to school because of their anxiety, which creates a whole host of other problems when they're refusing to go to school. So, what advice would you give on that, Deborah?
Um, I think the biggest advice that comes to mind is like catching it early, and school refusal really is a mental health emergency. It's equivalent to someone just not showing up for their life, or it's a mental health bullet wound. Like this is the act of functioning that is required of a person. So not going to school is not showing up for your life, and it could be tied long term to unemployment, to substance abuse, to just really not thriving. And so
Mm,
catching it early, and then giving the support, and that might be medication, therapy, it might be school accommodations, it might be a neuropsych test where maybe there's aspect of a school experience that could have appropriate scaffolding. So, you always have to start with the why. Like, what is the function of this behavior of not going to school? The answer isn't just they're being
mm,
pig-headed and making them go. I mean, it's assessing what is the block and then building supports as you're uh, encouraging more and more uh,
mm,
functioning.
mm, mm. That's a very, very important distinction to make, is that, if I like the idea of treating it as a, emergency, sort of to be very proactive about that before it gets
Mhm.
worse, and linking it to possible problems in the future as well. How important it is that, the teenager gets into their life and starts living their life, and they don't start not going and withdrawing at such an early age. Yeah, it's
Right, because that would be whether, someone is just not showing up for their job or in bed under the blankets while their family, their kids need tending to. That is the act of, of functioning as a child, teen is going to school. And
mm,
so
mm, mm,
important.
mm. Yes, it is hard but important.
Yeah. And the pandemic certainly didn't help anyone
No.
about anything, but learning it is possible. I think it did occur, a school refusal, but it really seemed things needed to be so extreme. But I think kids learned that it is possible to not go to school, something that
Mm.
really just didn't seem an option. So that I think we're still climbing our way out of all of that.
Yeah, yeah, because in those early developmental years, it's really quite important, isn't it? That's when you build those sort of social bonds, don't you? That's where you make those relationships, and if you're new at school, it then becomes all so much harder. Yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
learning like, okay, this is hard, I'm gonna do it again. This is hard, I'm gonna do it again. You just keep going and building resiliency and belief that you could function even when things are hard, uh, and things shutting down such key developmental times is
mm,
really hard on the kids and
mm,
teens.
mm. Yeah,
Still.
yeah, still, yeah, gosh, yeah.
Hmm.
And I think some parents worry that they aren't doing the right thing if their child is anxious. They're worried, well, what should I do or what should I say? Can you perhaps give some examples of what would be help a parent if they notice their child is anxious, but they really don't make it any worse?
Yeah, I'd say just sort of common fears or some default behaviors of sometimes either if a child's like, I'm scared, I don't want to go to the party, or I'm scared, I don't want to go to baseball, I'm going to get hit in the head. Either, oh, it's going to be fine, it's not a problem, it's going to be fine. And that we want to be reassuring, but at the end of the day, we can't prove that. So if someone is worried about an uncertain situation, like there are not guarantees that it's going to be fine. So that kind of default reassurance that parents want to do, and it's so natural in the parenting role, really doesn't work when it comes to anxiety, because anxiety is saying, even if it's unlikely, if there's still a chance that will happen, saying no, it'll be fine, like it's
Mm,
just not gonna work. Or sometimes like out of frustration, like as though the child's just being difficult, like just go, it's fine, stop being so difficult. And like
mm,
it's not a big deal, just go do that thing, you're just being difficult. So kind of the sweet spot is, a state of like, I know this feels hard, and you might not believe in yourself yet, but I believe in your ability to do hard things. And you know, I believe in you, and you could, you can push through this as hard as it feels.
mm,
Some version of, and sometimes it's not what we say, because talking most often backfires. Like we can't convince someone. It's not going to be through convincing them like, okay, I guess I will be ready for the party and I'm going to do it. Like sometimes parents will wait till the child feels ready or agrees that they're able to do that thing. I mean, they're not going to really know that they could handle it till they did it.
Mm,
So I would even say like you could think it in your own head, but like let the less words the better. Like if a kid who I don't want to go to school, I don't want to go to school, like okay, I'm okay, and sort of thing like okay, this is hard and we're doing it. Okay, it's hard. I believe in you and we're doing it. And so like that could be your own mantra and you just keep compassionately pushing forward. So it's
that's a good
less
one.
what we say and the less the better in moments when when our child or anyone who's in a state of anxiety, their brain is their amygdala is running the show. So the fight flight freeze, like there's an alarm going off in their head. Their
Mm,
frontal cortex, the thinking rational part of their brain, is not running the show.
mm,
So you're trying to speak and access a part of their brain that is not nearly as engaged as the fight flight freeze. And then maybe like after the fact, you guys could reflect like, oh, if they're willing, like how did it end up going? Was it the way you thought it would be? And see if they may have a new perspective. But when any of us are on anxiety, it's we're not able to think very
no,
clearly.
no. No, that's very true. Yeah, that's really good. I can see the scenario in my head when the child refuses to go to school, and I just like that those few words and encouraging them. And it's hard, but I believe in you. I love that. That's a really good statement to make. Yeah, it's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. And another question I've had. Yeah, it's hard, but impossible.
It may be
Hard.
harder for the parents. It's mutually hard, but
Yeah.
definitely very hard for parents.
Yeah.
These are
Yeah.
not easy things.
Yeah. And another question that's a common question is that parents worry that it doesn't always come out as anxiety. I think as you said earlier, it can come out as rudeness or anger or shutting the parent out. And that must be so hard to deal with.
Yeah, it gets very complicated. It is very complicated because that like when they're on anxiety, fight, flight, freeze. So fight, they just know that they're really uncomfortable and they either want to run or hide or fight their way through it. And if you're there trying to get them to do something, like it certainly might come out as like, you're so stupid, you're so annoying, and like, why are you making me? And it's words that can are going to feel very evocative and like my kid shouldn't be saying I should be disciplining them in that moment. And then sometimes it becomes sort of a big battle where like my
Mm,
child shouldn't be saying things like that. And uh, disengaging feels like if a good parent wouldn't let their child speak like that. But in reality, by like getting into it with them, if you have an anxious child who then starts acting like a jerk, and then you're like, you can't act like that. If you say that again, I'm gonna punish you and like I'm gonna take away your phone. What happens is it becomes like a distraction for the child. It's almost like fireworks. Instead of then having to like just notice their own internal state and find a way to get through it, all of a sudden it becomes this like battle that could distract from their discomfort, and then they don't have to find a way through it because now it's about something else. So often parents, and it might be one parent feels like it's okay, just I'm going to disengage, another parent feels like that's just letting them walk all over you. And so like understanding the function of the behavior, I mean, it's not that different than if you have like a 3-year old that's like having a tantrum. And so I really recommend in those moments, you don't have to take it at all, but just and you can even just think this in your head, like I love you, but this is not a healthy moment. And when you calm down, like I'm available to help you, but just like by disengaging, you're not reinforcing these kind of behaviors, and then they're going to have to work their way through that moment. So it's not that you're lazy or being a bad parent by letting them talk that way. You're just your attention is like sunlight on flowers or weeds. So like by paying attention to these bad behaviors, even if it's negative attention, you could also grow them.
Mm,
So it's a hard thing, but no, by removing your attention, you're
mm.
actually doing the work of extinguishing those behaviors too.
I love that
If that
metaphor.
makes sense.
Sunlight or flowers or on weeds. And you put the
Mhm.
sunlight on the weeds, weeds will grow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. Yeah, that's great. Okay. And
Oh, and I just want to make a plug for because like all the things that I'm saying are really hard for parents. So it's not like, oh, you should just be able to compassionately guide your child forward. There's like parent like we offer CBT for parents or parent only treatment where say there's a child who doesn't believe they need help or doesn't want to work on their anxiety, supporting parents in changing how they reinforce or interact in the environment. So there's still ways you could help your child from, we say, from the outside
mm,
in
mm,
and getting the support because it's very, very hard
mm.
to do
But
these things.
incredibly useful because the parents have got the support to give them
Right,
some guidance as to what to do
right,
rather than feeling absolutely overwhelmed and not having a clue what
right.
to do. And that can actually obviously affect the relationship and make the child, uh, be more emotional probably. So
Mhm.
that's really good to hear you provide that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's
Just
great.
if it feels like I'm trying to do these things, it's not working, it's because it's really hard.
Yeah, yeah, that's very compassionate. Very, very
Yeah, and it
compassionate.
goes against like as a parent, like your instinct is like they have a boo-boo, I want to heal, I want to fix, I want to I try to make life better for them. And when when it comes to their anxiety, like a lot of the things that we would do with reassurance or like rescuing them is not a tool in the toolbox. That's they got it, kind of do the work and see what they can handle, and it's hard.
Mm. Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, and another problem that parents seem to have is what to do when their child is having panic attacks, which is obviously very distressing to watch and again very difficult for the parent. Have you got any tips on that at all, Deb? Thank
Um,
you.
well, number one, of course, like you always want physical, an up-to-date physical where it might look like I can't breathe or I'm having the children rarely will say it's a panic attack. So it often has a psychosomatic, they'll describe something like feels weird in my body or I feel my heart feels like it's beating out of my chest. So depending on how you start realizing that if your child is experiencing a lot of anxiety showing up in their body, like going to your doctor, ruling out asthma, ruling out other things that it can be. And once you have, that answer that everything looks fine, and you can do this with a therapist or without, but like our panic workbook, for example, has different, we call it psychoeducation, but it's information on the body on anxiety because it's really confusing when all systems are go, but there's not really an emergency. So a panic attack is kind of a false alarm where it's like the fire alarm going off in your
Mm,
home, but there's no fire, thank goodness, but it's still really loud and attention grabbing. So if your brain thinks, oh no, there's something dangerous, and your body starts preparing for fight or flight, your blood flow changes where your
mm,
goes from the gut to the big muscles in the arms and legs to help you run. Your pupils are dilated, your heart's beating faster in order to pump more blood. So all these really powerful things happen to help you run, fight. But when there is actually nothing wrong, all you notice is that your body feels really uncomfortable and
mm,
really
mm,
out of control. And when you can't figure out something feels wrong, but there's nothing actually happening around you, then the answer must be the thing wrong is your body because it feels so weird. So kind of helping understand like what when your body is on anxiety, what it's feeling like, why the different sensations are happening depending on what your kid is experiencing, that can take some of the mystery out of it's still uncomfortable, but
mm,
it makes it less terrifying to understand the origin of the different sensations. And then and you could work with someone or try to do it on your own. But like when they are having these sensations and like, oh no, something's wrong, and like, okay, well we got it. We're just gonna ride, you just ride out the discomfort and like and reacting and sending them a signal of like they've got it and it's uncomfortable, but it's gonna pass. Similar, like if they stub their toe, it's
mm,
uncomfortable, but you're not panicking about their discomfort.
mm,
So it, coming to the same place with their psychological distress, where you could send them the signal like, yes, this feels uncomfortable, and you're just gonna move through this moment, and you've
mm,
got this.
mm. The book that you wrote about panic attacks for teenagers, um, I've used those books and they're so good. They really are because they explain it in teenager language and they're quite sort of simple to follow. I mean, very well written, but you know they explain a lot, so they are really really good if anybody is
Yeah,
worried about them.
yeah. Like as an adult, I find the simple the better, and for younger kids too, you could change some of the languaging, but it
Mm,
still is helpful to understand a little bit because all you know is that you just feel so
yeah.
uncomfortable and it can feel terrifying.
Mm. Yes, but understanding it, like you say, is such a key step one to that intervention.
Mhm.
And like you said, the parent might not have the confidence or not know themselves
Or
what
the
to
knowledge.
say, or the knowledge. Yeah, absolutely. But if it's in a book, you know,
Mhm.
written by an expert, then you think, oh well, oh this explains. Ah, this is why this goes. Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes a lot of
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
And it can be helpful to remind someone that they handle discomfort all the time. This is just another form of discomfort. Like I saw, hey, last week you had that gash on your knee and you just kept playing, didn't even want to come get a band-aid. Like that was uncomfortable and you handled it. And this is just another kind of
Mm,
uncomfortable that I know you're going to be able to handle this.
mm, I love it. Yeah, yeah. And I think another uh, problem that parents constantly have, and I know we've touched on it already, is the problem with reassurance, that need for the parent to reassure. But I think you're going to say it's not always the right thing to do.
Oh, it's hard. I was just thinking of a text that I sent to my daughter who texted me today, like, oh no, I didn't, I should read it. I'm gonna don't do what I say. Don't do what I do. Do what I always say. What did I say? She said to me, I think I messed up my test. I said, no matter what, all will be fine. However you did, it will be fine. Uh, I give myself like a B minus, B plus. Anyway, but I think when it comes to reassurance, kind of round one can be helpful because like maybe someone really doesn't know. So I kind of consider round one
That's a good point.
psychoeducation almost. Like,
Mm.
does what if they're really offended that I missed a friend's text, and what if now they hate me? And then so to like ask, okay, well, how much is the average turnaround time that you think people expect? And what are different reasons that people might end up hating each other, not wanting to be friends? And kind of like discussing together that concept a little bit, to have them understand what might be an alternate way to look at the situation. And then
Mhm.
like you could even like, I honestly think this, I can't guarantee it, but to me it seems like it's fine. But then after that kind of round one, if you've kind of done your best to like, because it might truly be a new concept. There might be a different way to look at it that maybe they don't yet know. But then after that, like, how do you know? Are you sure? Are you sure? Like when it feels like now they're just stuck and it's really just looping,
Mm.
that's when it's no longer sharing of potentially helpful information. So like the function of it, uh, but it's a, to give it a whirl and see if it can be helpful if you have a perspective. But if they're not hearing and it's not working, I would you know, switch gears, try a different tactic.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
Does that make sense? Like it's
It
not
makes complete sense. No,
perfect.
no, no. And it's not saying that reassurance is terrible either, is it? You're not saying never reassure your child.
It's just
You're not
with
saying
the
that.
brain on anxiety, sometimes with reassurance, it's never enough. It's kind of insatiable. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? How do you know for sure? So reassurance won't work when you're just in fight, flight, freeze.
No.
But in other moments, it can do the trick of helping to move through a challenge.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, that's really good. Really good answer. I like that. Uh,
Yeah.
mm. And I think another common problem that teenagers suffer from is social anxiety as well, panic attacks and social anxiety and the fear of being judged. I mean, I know that's a whole new topic and ball game, Deborah, but what any kind of tips if your child or teenager is suffering from social anxiety? Anything there that you could help with?
Yeah. I mean, I would, in terms of, I guess it goes back to the question of like mild, moderate, more severe, like when to get help from the sidelines. But often, whatever we say as a parent, it rarely will do the trick because as a therapist, I might say the same thing to a client that a parent tried to tell them, and they're going to have a hard time. They're not going to hear because that's just mom saying it. So, if you're trying to work directly with your child teen on their social anxiety, like it may just backfire purely due to the relationship component. So some like the exercises and things that I'll do with children and teens, adults struggling with social anxiety, I would say rarely are going to work as a parent trying to like use these kind of tools with your children, or teens. But social anxiety is about the brain. The core fear of social anxiety is judgment, as you said.
Mm,
So versus like panic disorder, the core fear is having a panic attack where, oh no, that means something catastrophic is going to happen. So each anxiety disorder has like a different
mm,
core fear to it. For social anxiety, the fear is, oh no, I'm going to be judged and I won't be able to handle that moment. And a little bit of we humans are supposed to have social be somewhat concerned about social rejection because that keeps us in
mm,
the tribe. And so we're animals that we're supposed to be part of a pack.
mm,
We don't do well in isolation. We're not that big and
mm,
strong. So picking up on cues to know when we are offending, when we're being unlikable in some way, it is important corrections. And through like teen years, you're learning a lot more through your peers than through parents. So it is a very natural time to be very aware of um, social cues and the goal is to be able to take certain corrections, but not drown in them and for it to not become catastrophic. So it becomes social anxiety when the very act of getting any negative feedback feels eh, intolerable, impossible. I would just die. I wouldn't be able to survive if someone thought I was annoying. So I'd rather not go to the party, not answer question class, give up my whole life instead of tolerating moments of judgment. And the reality is, 5 to 10% of people at any point are going to think we're going to each think each other is annoying and judge each other in different ways. We all are going to have to receive little moments of this. And so what we eventually work on with clients is we do exposures of receiving judgment. So we might like have someone practice giving a presentation and stuttering and fumbling their words and maybe like being in the audience with a really judgmental look or role play like that's so stupid, or sometimes we'll try to bring in other people to practice, or maybe we'll go somewhere if someone has a fear of like dropping a tray and like actually like go into a restaurant and drop something, not too messy. We don't want to make it hard on someone else, but like we'll try to kind of practice being on the receiving end of some judgment. And doesn't mean we have to like it, but can we handle it and survive it? And yes, so we kind of will actively have someone like learn that they can handle.
mm. And I love that those experiential exercises as well, Deborah, when you actually put somebody in a real life situation, you go out to a cafe and deliberately drop something. I mean, they are priceless. They are great
Mhm.
because you can't not learn from them, can you? You're in the moment and you have to just make the most of it, don't you? But it's a great way of getting people to really understand nothing terrible will happen. Nothing
Right.
terrible will happen. You might get an odd look, but that's about as much as are going to get. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
really
just
good.
maybe a little bit more in the when social anxiety becomes a little bit more OCD, but I just had an image that came to mind of a client who was very afraid of like, what if like I lose control? What if I ever like have an accident, like pee in my pants, like do all these different behaviors? Like that to them was something that would be so like the
Mm,
core fear of so shameful and engaging all these different behaviors to like not drinking any water all day for fear
mm,
that somehow they would leak or wearing all this extra clothing. And so in session one time, I often either get someone to do the exposure, but this was a time where I just like poured a bunch of water on myself on my own pants, and um uh and then I have like a busy office in like a busy area of Chicago, and just like walked through the office and walked down the street and had them look like, how were people reacting? Like maybe out of 10, 15 people, one person like looked for a second my way, and that was like with a big, what looked like a big pea stain. But like for them to see versus in their mind
Mm,
what that would be like the whole world like pointing you saying shame, and our own scary stories that we tell ourselves.
mm, mm.
So even that kind of seeing an alternate perspective can be helpful.
Yeah, yeah, and like you say, very, very authentic and very real. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that. Good for you, Deborah. Good for you.
yeah, we have fun.
Okay. Just another question about, I think this is a common problem where teenagers don't talk to their parents about their anxiety. They refuse, which probably makes everything worse because the parent is even more worried about them now. I'm just wondering whether that might be a good topic just to discuss for a few minutes.
Yeah, I think when we're worried about our children uh, and they're kind of closing down, and it's such a natural response to like check in and like want to talk to me and like what's going on, and then it could almost feel like a form of harassment, like trying to get like water out of a rock to try to like tell me what's going on. And the more coming at them, the more they may shut down. So um I would say that if that is happening, like you're still the parent and legal guardian, and like, listen, I don't know what's going on, but you you know you deserve to have more fun, and like I don't know what's going on with you, but I want to support you in this, and like I made an appointment, and with someone to help you from the sidelines, and maybe they can help you, but like you could require, they're still your child, like that they speak with someone and see if, and they might just open up to somebody else, but like you just don't have to sit there and watch them waste away if they're not willing to speak with
Mm,
you.
mm,
I would also say, it say every other aspect of their life is fine, like their grades are fine socially, and they're just not talking to you. They just may be going through like a super, I have all the answers, and you could let that developmental thing happen for a little bit if they're just shutting down to you, but the
mm,
other aspects of their life
mm,
are going okay. I don't know if I would force it
mm,
therapy appointment on them if it's just them shutting down
mm,
to you.
mm.
But
Yeah,
just
good point.
letting them know, like, I love you, and whenever you want to talk, I'm here, and you seem like you want some space. I'm trying to give it, but I'm here, and you say the word, and I'm here to help in any way I can.
Mm, mm. Okay. And I think the other problem is that parents are very good at blaming themselves. And I wonder whether sometimes the parent thinks it's their fault that the child is anxious, and then you've got all the mum guilt issues to deal with that. Um, what would you
Yeah,
say to a parent who's feeling guilty that their child is anxious or not quite right?
I'm just thinking, like, biology wise, like there may be an inheritable quality if you come from more, anxiety prone, and what that simply means is like your ancestors were better at, like, if there was a brown object in the woods, not assuming it was a stick, and maybe assuming it was a snake, and seeing another day. In and of itself, it's not to pass on genes to make someone more alert, aware of potential danger, isn't
Mm,
bad thing. And then in terms of um a lot of parents have uh fears of like they've witnessed me being anxious and I made them that way. And at the end of the day, like children are meant to be resilient. None of us are going to be perfect parents, and like good enough parenting is awesome. And so the chances are they were going to have their challenges, like every human has their challenges, no matter what. If you were more perfect, that could have even been more of a problem because then they wouldn't have learned how to handle hard things are going to happen until they go to college because you've been so perfect that they haven't had to deal with it. So there's really no way to emotionally bubble wrap your child to make sure that they don't experience anxiety. But it to model, if that's something you're really stuck worrying about, it might show that you deserve freedom from it. And don't just do it for them, do it for you. If you're really like, oh, I'm anxious and I gave it to them, it sounds like you're really still identifying with your anxiety, that you deserve freedom from it.
Mm.
And along the way, if you learn how to handle moments differently, they might just learn something as well by you modeling it. But step one, you should do it for you, not because that's
Mm.
going to make them any more healthy or less healthy. But
Mm. And that's a point, I suppose, where the courses will be really useful for the parents, wouldn't they? Because then they can share this sort of guilt
right.
that they have, and just hearing other people's stories and how other people are struggling probably just brings
Yeah.
a reality check to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I just said that, I'm kind of questioning, like in reality, because to be a parent is to be busy and have 18 million things to do at one time. And it just might be the thing that motivates you to get the help that you deserved
Mm.
earlier. So fine, if you're doing it for your kid to learn to model new behaviors, that's fine too. If in the
Mm.
end you actually get more freedom, because often someone will do something if they think it's going to help their kids versus for themselves. That's fine too. If the only
Mm.
reason you're getting help for your own anxiety is to help your kids, fine.
Mm.
That's okay too.
But it's also okay to get help for
Yeah,
yourself.
take it. Yeah.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I've got one final question.
Yeah.
If that's okay, Deborah. And it's just at night time. I think what happens is because there's less distractions, everything like that. Again, a child or a teenager can get quite anxious at night times. Is there anything that you think you could suggest for for that?
Oy. I mean, what's coming to my head, but then there's the whole technology battles between children, teens, and their parents, and uh, not having a power struggle with them over their phones. Because that's these days how, most people kind of like get themselves to bed is like right before using their phones. But you might, I was thinking like, if you can develop a family culture where people like at night charge their phones downstairs, that would be great. But I've seen so many
Mm.
ruptured relationship with teens over battling phones, and then disconnected relationships, that I'm going to put that idea on hold. Like if that happens to be your family culture, cool, and then you could
Mm.
provide them with like different ideas of what you find helpful, like um uh so for example, at nighttime reading can be very, very helpful. So
Mm.
the goal of maybe not something that's so engaging that you end up all night reading it because you just are so interested, but like having a good, this is my like land the plane book that is interesting enough, but also I tend to
Mm.
get kind of tired when I listen to it. So like what are the things that are good sleep hygiene that you tend to do, and share that with your kids if they're willing to hear you.
Mm, mm. Yeah, good. Yes, yes. So it's actually sort of replacing the phone, isn't it, with other resources that perhaps, and like you say, not getting into the battle, that battle.
Right. Or
But
giving them tools on their phones, like here's a really good podcast. Like there's one called like Sleep With Me, or just kind of meandering stories, or
yeah,
things
yeah.
you could do to like your own version of
Calm down.
landing
Yeah.
the plane, where you're going from like up and activated to um a more calm state.
Mm,
And for different people, it might be a little bit different what they find helpful. For some people, like sleeping with earplugs, where just background sounds
mm,
can be very activating. A sleep mask, keeping your room really, really dark, cool, just basics of getting a good night's sleep, helping your child to create an environment that's conducive to good
yeah,
sleep.
yeah, yeah. And you've answered so many questions, Deborah. You could almost do a podcast on each question, like say sleep hygiene and getting
Oh yeah,
children out
each
of
of these
sleep.
is worth it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So thank you so much, Deborah. And I just want to encourage you just to tell the listeners how to get in contact with you if you're in America, you might want to get access one of your centers, treatment centers. But if you're not there, definitely one of your books sounds really, really useful. So how
Yeah,
do
so
people get
just
in touch with you?
website lightonanxiety.com, and we have
Mm,
tons of tools and resources and blogs and worksheets, and there are links to all of the books and videos. And so we really, when we find something good that we think is helpful, we love trying to disseminate and get it out there. So, and then we have lots same day, next day appointments available. And also, we would be available to try to help if you can't find some in your area, providing some recommendations. So if you go to lightonanxiety.com, start there, and feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to
mm,
connect.
mm. That will be great. Thank you so much, Deborah. I'm sure
Thank
that you're going to get
you.
even more questions now.
Bring it on. I'm not
Bring
afraid.
on.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. And
Well,
I
thank
just
you. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
this was
really
a really
great.
fun conversation that
Yeah.
maybe one day we could have a part
You could
two,
bit,
because
yeah. You're a bit harsh giving yourself a B plus. I thought that was a little bit harsh.
oh, I think I gave myself a B minus.
Oh, B minus. Oh, it's even worse then. Even worse.
Fine,
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
And I just want to thank the listeners for listening and just encourage you, please, to subscribe to the channel so you get to hear more and more people, and maybe Deborah will come back
I would love
and do
it.
a second session. Thank you so much.